Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Friday, January 19th, 2024. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate, Real Life, Real Talk, and Real Live with your host, myself, Damon, the agent. Well, in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, it's a snowy day out there today. So I hope that everyone is inside and that you all are staying warm. And hopefully, many of you are off the roads because we did get quite a bit of snow, and it's actually still snowing right now. So, as you all know, I always like to begin my segment with what's going on in the wonderful world of real estate. So, today I'm going to talk about some 2024 market updates, do a few Q&A, and then I'm also going to have one of my lenders come on, and we're going to do like a Q&A with her as well. So, let me begin with the wonderful world of real estate. Okay. So I just want to give some market updates just to give people an idea of what's actually going on in the market, because some people have been for the past year or so been stuck on interest rates, interest rates, interest rates. And I've been educating people to say that interest rate are not the only number that you are dealing with when you're purchasing a home. You're dealing with the purchase price of the home. You're dealing with your monthly payments. You're dealing with closing costs. You're dealing with all these other things that have a huge factor on affordability for each individual when it pertains to home. So I just want to give some market updates within the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So here's the thing. From December 2022 in comparison to December 2024, I just want to show people and give a stat as far as houses and what's been going on so people can get a clear picture. All right. Now, here's the thing. In the state of Maryland, okay, matter of fact, in the mid-Atlantic region, this includes DC, Maryland, and Virginia. In the mid-Atlantic region, the number of units of homes from December 2022 to December 2023, just for the month of December comparisons, went down 5.6% in the number of units that were sold. So in other words, the number of units that were sold went down. But here's the thing. The medium and average sales price went up 8.1% in that 1 year period. 8%. I want people to understand that on a $300,000 home, 8% is $24,000. So a home that was worth $300,000 in 2022 sold for $324,000 in 2023. And the reason why I want people to understand that is because the equity of homes are increasing at a higher rate than interest rate. Therefore, while people are still elaborating and saying they're waiting for the interest rate to go down, the interest rate would never go down as fast as the equity of a home is going up. That is why it's always very important to look at all of the numbers. I look at affordability. When you purchase a home, you can always refinance once interest rate does go down. But if you're waiting for interest rate to go down, you're going to lose this battle because you're competing with price houses going up. That's why it's better to buy now if you can, to buy now and wait. You don't wait and buy later, because if you wait and buy later, you're going to do yourself an injustice. The thing to do is to buy now. If you can afford to buy now, to refinance later. Like I said, in that 1 year time period, the houses have increased 8.1%. That is more than interest rate has gone up, and it's going up at a higher rate than interest rate will ever come down. So keep that in mind. So because here's another thing. If people wait and they wait and they wait and they wait, and the interest rate then started to go down, guess what? The interest rate probably has gone up 20, 30% by then. So you're saving of roughly 5%. Let's say interest rate at 8%, you're waiting for it to go down to 3%. You're saving 5%, but at the same time, the house has gone up 35%. That doesn't make sense mathematically. So again, I always try to get people to focus on affordability when it pertains to buying homes, because the affordability is what you really want to focus on. It's just like when you go buy a car. There are plenty of people who have high interest rate on cars, but they're not focused on that. They're focused on if they can afford the payment. The same thing when it pertains to home. You focus on whether or not you can afford the home payments, and then you refinance and structure it later on. And then once you build equity in your home, that helps you to offset to make sure that things are more affordable for you. It's about financial literacy. So I'm just trying to educate many people so they can fully understand and have a grasp in that. So I wanted to go over that. That's part of the market updates. But the lender that I have come on, we're going to talk more about market updates. So right now I'm going to go into my Q&A session, which is my question and answers session. So with the Q&A, hold on for one second. With the Q&A, the question that I have is, all right, I get these questions all the time. If the value of houses go down, do I lose the equity that I have in my house? If the value of houses go down, do I lose the equity that I have in my home? And the answer to that is yes, you actually do. It's similar to in 2008 when the housing market crashed, and then people turned around and they wanted to sell their house, and many houses that were being sold then were short sales. Short sales is basically when a house is upside down. Short sales is basically when the homeowner owes more on the home than the home is actually worth. So the homeowner's mortgage company has to approve the final sale. So with that being said, if the value of houses go down, do I lose the equity in my house? And the answer is yes. That's why short sales exist, because most people have lost equity in their home. Someone else said, is Baltimore the only place in Maryland that has ground rent? Is Baltimore the only place in Maryland that has ground rent? Yeah, no, it's not the only place. It's that place, and there's certain parts of Frederick County, Maryland, that also have ground rent in the state of Maryland. So Baltimore's not the only place in Maryland. Someone said, what is the highest interest rate that could be given or you have seen on a mortgage loan? What is the highest interest rate that could be given or you have seen on a mortgage loan? Well, here's the thing about interest rate. Interest rate also is about the market, but it's also about people's individual credit. Now, right now, the interest rate is floating around what? I don't even know. I think it's between 7 or 8%. But here's the thing, about 25, no, not even 25, I think about 40 years ago, interest rate were like 18 to 21%, I believe it was. The interest rate used to be extremely high, y'all. So when people are crying about 8%, I understand it, because as Americans, most of us are spoiled. So we want what we want. But back in the 80s, interest rates were extremely high. So, and since I've been in the real estate market since 2005, the highest interest rate that I've seen that one of my clients have gotten is roughly around I want to say 8 to 8.5%. That's one of my clients. Okay, I've had clients who've gotten anywhere from 2.5 up to 8%. But the highest rate that I ever seen is the one that's been in the market way before I got into the real estate industry. So that's around 18 to 20%. But interest rate is always going on with the market, and also based off people's credit. So, and I say based off people's credit because some people assume because the interest rate is marketed, let's say at 8%, that's what they're going to get. But what they don't understand is a lot of the marketed interest rate is for people who have A1 credit. If your credit is not A1, you're not necessarily going to get that advertised interest rate. It's the same when you are looking at TV at a sport, any sports, and they show you a car commercial. And if you look on there, they'll say 0% interest rate, and they'll say subject to credit. It's the same thing when you're getting a mortgage. It's subject to your credit. So a lot of times that's why you have to speak with a lender for them to educate you on that part, so you'll fully understand that when it pertains to interest rate, that it is not just about the interest rate that you see, but your credit has a huge factor when it pertains to your interest rate. So let me see if I have any more questions. All right, hold on. All right. So, with that being said, my next segment, I have a guest coming on now. She's a lender with Benchmark Mortgage. Give me 1 second so I can introduce Zaire Kazito. Hold on for 1 second, you all. Hello, 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 Miss Zaire. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Damon?
I am great. I'm great. Are you enjoying the weather today?
It's a great view. And I was telling you earlier, I might go sledding. So why not?
Well, you'll be out there with some kids. I don't see any kids right now, but yesterday I did see some kids out there. So maybe they wait until the snow stops coming down. But enjoy the snow if you do. I would say bundle up. Snow can be fun. It can be dangerous if you're on the road, but when you're playing in it, it can actually be fun. So enjoy your time when you do go out there to, get into the snow. Well, tell us a little bit about you. Like, first of all, I'd like to know the definition of your name, your whole name, Zaire Kazito.
Yeah, so my dad named me, and he named me after a country. It's in Africa. Right now, it's called the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Hmm.
But back then, in the 90s and 80s, there was a lot of strife happening, and the Zairian people were just strong in who they were. They lost the battle of keeping the name,
Hmm.
but the history is still there. So one day, I hope to go back. I would love that. So.
Well, that's great. That's great and everything. So, tell us about like what's going on in the wonderful world of the mortgage industry these days. So, of course, people are always asking and inquiring about interest rates. So, what's the current interest rate today?
So that's hard to say. People ask me that all the time. Of course, it's going to depend on a few different things, right? Credit, income, assets.
Hmm.
That's going to determine your debt to income ratio. It's going to determine how much mortgage you can have. But the average rate right about now is hovering in that 6.5, 6.75, but all kind of depends on your credit and your profile. So it depends. And it depends on the program too. So right now, FHA has lower interest rates than conventional.
Hmm.
But if you put more money down, maybe that can change for you. So just depends.
Yeah, I was just saying that prior to you getting on that people credit when it pertains to interest rate is always subject to credit because people tend to think that excuse me, oh, I'm waiting for the interest rate to go down. But even if the interest rate does go down, what is your credit looking like? It's like with cars, they advertise all the time, 0% down, but then when they pull your credit, they say, oh, well, we need we need you to put some money down. And then they also say, well, this is going to be the interest rate. But then when they see your credit, they say, oh, no, you got to get a high interest rate. So people need to fully understand the logistics when it pertains to, um, you know, credit, interest rate, and all those other variable factors. So, where do you see the future of the mortgage industry heading to for 2024?
I believe, and we not only I believe, but we're seeing it. I believe the rates are going to continue to lower, not only because it's an election year, but because the government does want to make sure homes are somewhat affordable, right?
Hmm.
And right now, the rates, even from the decrease from October, which is one of the highest points we've seen at mortgage, it was hovering around that 8%, right? And now
Hmm.
it's hovering, like I said earlier, around that 6.5, 6.75%, and will continue to go down. But the difference in purchasing power is $300, right?
Hmm.
So it can really change the lives of many people. What maybe in October they can only qualify for X amount, now they can qualify for a little bit more, right? Um, but again, it all depends. So, but in
Right.
2024, I definitely see we all kind of feel it lowering. It's hard to really predict what will happen, but we're seeing what they're saying is going to happen anyway. So we're going to continue to have the faith that's going to keep
That's
coming
good.
through.
That's all we can do is have faith sometimes. So, do you or do the mortgage people see like when is an optimum time for individuals to normally apply for a mortgage?
In my opinion, as soon as possible. Why
Hmm.
not? Even if you're not ready, that doesn't mean you're buying a house tomorrow, right? But it's always great and it doesn't hurt and it's free to talk to a professional and just to see where you stand, right? Hey, I just want to know. It's not like you need anything. to come to the table. You just need to bring a positive attitude and know your social security number. And even if you don't have a social, there are programs out there for that too. But the first step is definitely talking to someone about it, talking to a professional that you feel comfortable with, someone that's not just going to kind of blow you off just because you're not ready yet. I think that's a very big key point. A professional, the difference between a leader and someone who just is an employee is putting together an action plan, right? Hey, let's get this buyer ready to buy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not today. Sometimes buyers will come to me and say, well, I'm not ready for another 6 months. Well, we start talking and now they're like, you know what? I'm ready now. Why not?
Okay.
So it really just kind of depends on your goals and how you feel, right? I'm never going to, no lender should want to push a buyer into something that they're not ready for because it is such a huge commitment. But when buyers start to understand that, hey, I'm making this investment into myself,
Mm-hmm.
into my future self,
Mm-hmm.
because real estate is king. You know, people say cash is king. Well, real estate is pretty equivalent to that. So definitely talking with a professional first just to kind of see where you stand. Why not?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I actually have a client now who wants to she wants to buy, but she says she's waiting until October. So person like that, you think is a good time for her to talk to you to see what it is. Because I think what it is, she's trying to get her credit together. Her and her fiance are trying to get their credit together. So you do believe it's a good time to talk way, even though it's more than 6 months, so you all can actually know where they stand at, and then navigate and instruct them as far as which way to move next.
Absolutely. And on top of that, they gain information and insight from a perspective that's in it every day, right?
Hmm.
Like, hey, I know you're buying in October, but let's take these necessary steps right now because in 8 months, your credit could boost 50 to 100 points. I mean, you never really know. But if you don't take those steps ahead of time, how would you know? Now it's September, you're looking around like, dang, my lease is coming up. What I gotta hurry up on this. And the worst thing is to feel rushed making such a big decision like this, you know? And I think a big piece is people get nervous about getting their credit pulled. Well, guess what? You can still talk to someone and just get a soft pull, right? Just to kind of see where you're at. So make sure you know the difference between a hard pull and a soft pull. Get that soft pull first. Doesn't affect your score.
That's good. So, what advice do you have for listeners trying to navigate the interest rate fluctuations? People are always asking you, like you say. So, what advice would you give listeners?
I would give them date the rate, marry the house. I think a lot of us in real estate say that. The rate can always change, right? The more you make your mortgage payment, the higher your credit is more likely to go. And guess what? When you first bought the house compared to when you're eligible to refinance a year later, your credit could be in a completely different situation. The rates could be much lower, and you can qualify for a nice rate, right? That rate
Right.
isn't forever. Just because it's a 30-year loan doesn't mean that you need to keep that rate for 30 years. However, if it's a good time for you to buy and you find that perfect house, why not? If it's in the budget, if it checks off the boxes that are necessary, then make that move. And if you want to sell later, absolutely. But you have that leverage now because you have such a big piece of investment. So my biggest piece of advice would say definitely why not? Why not talk to somebody? It's free, and most of us love what we do, so we'd be happy to happy to do
Right.
it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Um, yeah, I think like with a lot of things that's going on today, people always want to know. Like, for example, I recently had someone to ask me, and she was like, well, what programs are out there? And I always told her that programs are relative to each individual because programs they base it off location, and also there's an income restriction. So everyone doesn't qualify for programs. Like people think they do because they've been hearing it for so long. But nowadays, you got some people who make way more money than their parents did. So because of that, they don't qualify. They tend to have the programs to assist people who they deem need help. And they may feel like you don't need help because you make a certain amount of money, because you should be financially, literate to the point where you're doing well with your money and have good savings. But unfortunately, a lot of people are not. So let me ask you this question. It was asked to me. There was a lady who asked me a couple of days ago about a VA loan. And she said her mother has a VA certificate and she wanted to purchase a home with her mother. And she said, would she be able to, would it benefit her to use a VA certificate from her mother or to see what programs that were out there? So I told her, well, I don't know. Like, I said, do your mother work? And she said, no. So with that being said, if a person does not work and they have a VA certificate and they're going in with their child or spouse, will they be able to still qualify for the VA certificate?
So a few things I want to touch on. Um, Programs vary based on what lender you speak to. Not every
Mhm.
lender has the same programs, right? But I will say in the last year, I have seen quite a few programs come up that are not income restricted. I offer one over at Benchmark. All you need is a 600 score. Now, I will say there are caveats to everything, right? If you're looking for a down payment assistance program with no income restrictions and maybe you have a 600 score, then that interest rate is going to look different than your regular interest rate, right? Because in the lender's eyes, they're taking a risk on someone who maybe doesn't need the money or maybe someone who doesn't have, the highest of credit scores. So I will say that's a common misconception that you need lower income in order to get certain programs, right? So that's one. And then second part to your question, um, depends on if the veteran is at least 10% disabled. If they are not at least 10% disabled, sometimes there's what's called a VA fee that's going to be added on top of the loan, and it could be pretty expensive,
Talking about the
especially in
funding
our
fee or
area.
another fee?
Yeah, the funding fee, sorry.
Okay.
So the VA funding fee, depending on that home price, it could be quite a lot, right? And it just gets tacked right on top of your loan. So sometimes it might be better to go with a different program if you don't qualify because you don't have at least 10% disability. So I think it would depend. It would definitely depend, but it is nice to not have to put anything down with the VA, and their interest rates are very nice too.
So what programs do you all have at Benchmark that are for people who, who are not income restricted? Like what type of programs are those?
So there is one that offers the full 3.5%, and it's an FHA loan. All you need is a 600 credit score. Now, there are no DTI restrictions either, which is really nice. So
Hmm.
DTI, for those watching, it's debt to income ratio. Very quick way to do it is take your monthly debt. So monthly debt, such as your credit cards, your car, take all those totals divided by your income, gives us a percentage, right?
Hmm.
Now, once you factor in a mortgage in there, it gives us a different percentage. So that's kind of how we base approvals, right? Now, with this program, FHA needs to be under 56%. So as if it's called the underwriting system that all lenders use. If we run it through the system and it's approved, you got the program, right? So it
Hmm.
really depends on what's on your credit for you to have that 600 score and what's that DTI, that debt to income ratio, and whether you're going to get approved or not. But that's a really nice program outside of like the Maryland Mortgage Program and a few other local ones that maybe someone doesn't have the credit for.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good information. Yeah, so I appreciate that. So for going into 2024, how can people get in contact with you if they wanted to get in contact with you?
Definitely go to Zaire Quizito dot oh it is benchmark.com.
Yeah,
Let
at
me make sure.
benchmark.us.
At benchmark.us. There we go.
Yeah, I
You
know.
so you can email me Zaire.Quizito at benchmark.us.
Uh-huh.
Definitely give me a call 954-857-3422, or send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, Zaire Quizito, or at Zaire Z Lender on Instagram.
Okay, so I'll make sure on Instagram I tag you in this so that way people if they want to get in contact with you they can. So I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to educate us on what's going on as far as the mortgage industry in the future for 2024. And you and I, we will be doing business as always. I thank you. I want you to enjoy your snow today when you go out there and make sure you stay warm. If you're not used to the snow, which I don't think you are, your hands could get numb. So wear gloves if you don't have any gloves. So Make sure
You're
that
right. So, if speaking of that, I don't have any gloves, so maybe I'll just watch from
no. You can go out
inside.
there for a minute, take your ring off so your husband don't get mad because it could get lost, and then go out there, make a snowball, take him with you, and then y'all can go have fun real quick. So, but that's good. So I thank you for joining me today, and I'm gonna call you when my podcast is over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity to have me, and I hope I influence someone to take that next step.
Yep, I'm sure you did, and I'm gonna tag your information. Thank you, Zaire, and we shall talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. All right, that was Zaire Kazito. She just gave us that information about the 2024 market updates. Now, my next segment, as always, I always like to talk about a topic. And today I'm going to talk about happiness in one aspect and immaturity on another. Now, I'm going to talk about elaborate on happiness because there was someone who made a Facebook post this week, and when they made a Facebook post, their Facebook post said, "What's the hardest thing you ever had to do in a relationship?" And this one guy said, "Stay in it for the sake of my two kids being raised with both of their parents under the same roof. Plus, I refuse to let another man attempt to raise my kids." So this one lady was like, hold on, let me read her response. She was like, huh, yeah, but what about you being happy? She said that doesn't, she said that's all good. She said if you're not in a healthy household, best believe no one is happy. I get your point, but honestly, the only way things like that work out is when both parties have an agreement to work things out. So then I just made a comment to him, basically just saying, like, I feel you, I understand you, blah, blah, blah. So then she responded to me and was like, well, if you're not happy, and I said to her, to be truthful, women are the only ones who focus on happiness a lot of times in relationship. And I also told her that over 80% of divorces are filed. A lot of times they're filed because a woman is not happy. And I stated to her that also no one owes you any happiness in life. And I asked her this question. I said, think about it. Ask yourself this one question. Throughout your entire life, have you always made you happy the entire time? That you've never gone a time where you weren't unhappy with yourself, unhappy with the results, unhappy with yourself, period. The truth is no. None of us will always make our own self happy. But yet at the same time, we expect to be in relationships and that we have to be happy. Happiness. You deserve happiness. You deserve this. See, the truth is we live in the United States and we are a spoiled country and a spoiled society where we feel entitled to so much. We think we're entitled to happiness. So when that guy was commenting about doing things, I clearly said, and I'm trying to get to my part that I actually said to him. I clearly basically said to him that I understand where you're coming from. Hold on. Let me get to my part. I'm going to read specifically word for word what I said. Okay. This is what I said. I said, I get it. Sometimes it's not about us, it's about the kids. Women are the only ones who focus on their happiness. Us men focus on what's best for the kids. So, of course, people came for me, but I was making a point that in relationships, it ain't just about happiness. Sometimes it's about security. Sometimes it's about love. It's about protection. It's about a lot of things that make up much more than happiness. Yes, we all want to be happy, but the truth be told, many relationships that have survived 20, 30, 40 plus years, they weren't always happy. They made a decision. They made a commitment to stay there regardless. The problem is nowadays we have so many options that we think that, oh, I don't have to deal with this. I'm going to go deal with something else. And 9 times out of 10 years, you find someone else that do something different than the last one, but they also do something worse than the last one. And that's the thing. It's like a revolving door. You're going in cycles and cycles and cycles because so many people are just focused on happiness. Happiness. It ain't just about happiness, people. It's much more than that. You're not going to be happy with yourself throughout your entire life. Some people may feel like, oh, I'm overweight, or some people might feel like I'm too short, or some people might feel like I'm not cute enough, or some people might feel like I don't make enough money. See, the problem is you're never going to be always happy with yourself. So why do you demand that you're supposed to always be happy in a relationship? So I'm saying this to say that a lot of times the mindset that we have determines the results that we have. That's why a lot of times we don't get the results that we want, because our mindset is so messed up that we don't even realize it. So like I said to the lady, over 80% of the women file for divorces, and 9 times out of 10 when they file for divorce, they end up becoming target practice for a lot of men. And many of them, not saying all, many of them don't ever get remarried again. And many of them never end up with the man that they thought that they deserved. They end up settling. And then a lot of times the man that they end up settling with sometimes is worse than the man that they was with, because they focus so much on happiness. See, it's like in sports. I'm gonna use sports for an equation. It's a team. And when you're on the team, there are going to be people who make sacrifices in order to get to the common goal. See, when you are made a commitment to someone, depending on whether you're in a relationship or whether you're married, the common goal is, yes, not just to be happy, but to have a fulfilling, prosperous life, and to have more pros than cons, to be more ups than downs, because you're going to have the downs, you're going to have the cons. But the problem is too many people are worried about always being happy. I deserve this. I deserve that. People will date, and while they're dating, they're looking at, oh, this person is right for me. This person is doing this for me, and everything is good. But then once the moment comes when things ain't good, then you start looking at an out, or you start looking at, oh, well, you start thinking about other people and stuff like that. So you have no commitment, and you're unrealistic, and you're really delusional when it pertains to what life is about. Truth be told, is no one is going to always be happy. Period. Not even with yourself. You're not going to always be happy with yourself. You're going to be mad that you did this. You're going to be mad that you didn't do this at yourself. You're going to let yourself down. You're going to let you down in many ways. You're going to let yourself down, whether you realize it or not. And when you let yourself down, guess what? You don't punish yourself. You don't get rid of yourself, because you can't. And the same thing happens even with your parents. Your parents are not going to always make you happy. You can't change parents. But what happens with our parents is some of you got a funky attitude, and then you want to become mad and disrespectful to your parent, the people who've given you life, the people who raised you, the people who had blood, sweat, tears for you, and money, and did all these things for you. You want to give them your tail to kiss, because of your mindset. You got the wrong mentality anyway when it pertains to your parents. So when it pertains to happiness, people focus on the wrong thing. See, the one thing about parents, when people are disrespectful, that's why sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of our youngsters are passing away, because they've been very disrespectful to their parents. And it says in the Bible, you know what I'm saying, honor thy mother and father so that your days will be long. It don't say you have to like your parents. It don't say you have to be happy with your parents. It say honor thy parents. Honor means respect thy parents. And the reason why it's saying it for a reason. You're not going to always like your parents. You know what I'm saying? Just like when the Bible about husband and wife. Husband, love thy wives as the church, as Christ loved the church. Wives, submit to your husband. The reason why I say this is because those are not happy moments in anything. So I say, when it pertains to happiness, if you keep looking for happiness in other people, you're going to keep finding yourself disappointed, because you can't even keep you happy all the time. And you are with you 24/7. And you are the one who is taking care of you. But yeah, you don't always keep you happy, but you expect when you get into a relationship to always be happy. Now, how real is that? No, it's not real. It's really delusional and unrealistic. But some of you all don't even want to see that, because you're focused on the wrong thing. So when this man was talking about his kids, I got what he was saying when he said he didn't want to have another man to attempt to raise his kid. And he said that, and he also made another comment, because when those people said something to him, he said, hold on, which was very mature. Hold on, let me get to it real quick. He said, hold on. He said, when it comes to my kids, happiness for myself is the last thing I think about. It's about what's best for my children and make sure that they're happy and content, because they don't owe me anything. I was the one who brought them in this world, so I had to make sure they had me 100%. and not in a broken home. My happiness came from making sure they were straight. I just had to be a man and accept the young and foolish decision I made by sexing someone raw and making a baby by someone I really didn't want to be with. I was in college playing basketball and was careless, but it paid off for the better. I get what you're saying, though, and most females tell me that 100% of the time. He said that also, he said, I made a promise to myself to stay in that situation until they were grown, self-sufficient, and I parted ways. When I look at my two children, which are grown now, I'm satisfied with the decision I made because I know for a fact that if I didn't stay, they wouldn't be the positive young adults they are today. And I say that to say that so many of us are so selfish in so many ways that we fail to realize. Sometimes kids come into your life to show you things that you need to do. But at the same time, I also say that when people are looking at happiness, whether they have kids or not, they're looking at the wrong thing. If you're talking about happiness, like that lady was talking about, please, you're going to a lot of times not be happy. Yes, the next person is going to make you temporary happy and maybe even make you happy in the areas that the last one wasn't able to make you happy. But I guarantee you that there are pros and cons to everyone because we all can never be replaced by anyone. So I just wanted to talk about that happiness, and I'm going to elaborate on this immaturity real quick. Someone posted that I knew had a birthday party last week, and they invited people to come out to eat with them. And when they invited people to come out to eat with them, nobody dressed up. They were dressed in jeans. They were dressed in hoodies. They were dressed in things. But the restaurant was, it wasn't a 1 or 2 star restaurant. It was a little upscale restaurant where people, normally dress up. So she posed a question about how many of you men over the age of 40 have a suit to actually wear. People were, making all types of comments. But what I explained to her was what you have to understand is people, sometimes the way people dress, they try to dress. And in the society we live in nowadays, people think it's more cool to be hood than it is to be dressed up. They want to represent that they cool, that they got their Jordans on and everything because it's a cultural thing. And that's fine when you're in the culture. Some people don't know how to step out the culture. Some people don't know how to adapt to their surroundings. People only bring who they are everywhere they go, even though everywhere you go, it's not from who you were or where you grew up from. And what I'm saying is this, that maturity comes a lot with people. There are so many immature adults that it's ridiculous. You got people 25 to 75 still acting like they're 15. And I said this before. There are so many immature grown adults that all you have to do is hold a conversation with people and you'll find out where their maturity level is. What they talk about, what they focused on, what their goals are. So you can't expect maturity from immature people. That's just unrealistic for you to believe that they're going to mature because some people are never going to grow up. Some people are never going to change who they are, no matter where you go, where you take them from. That's why there's a saying that says you could take a person out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of them because some people don't know how to adapt. Me personally, I adapt wherever I go. I can dress up, I can dress down, I can talk intelligent, I can talk hood. It doesn't matter. It just depends on who you are and how you was raised. And I've realized a long time ago that when you go to certain people of certain caliber, you can't talk Ebonics or talk street language to people who are very educated. You understand? Because, you can't. You can't. And just like you can't take people who are very educated and take them in the hood and have them speaking, very, proper and, talking upscale and everything because people are not going to understand it. You have to talk to people on the level that they are. And then you have to communicate to people on the level where they are. That's another thing that I also learned. It's like everyone doesn't accept phone calls. Some people prefer text. Some people don't prefer text. Some people prefer emails. You have to communicate to people on the level of where they are. So when she was talking, I explained to her that there are many immature people. A lot of times, hold conversations with people long enough and you'll know exactly what you're dealing with because so many people nowadays, truth be told, they act their shoe size. They don't act their age. They act real immature. And depending on what you want to deal with is going to depend on the conversation that you hold. If you want to have mature people, change your circle. You know what I'm saying? You can go to functions of people of like-minded. You can join book clubs for those people who are educated and they want to be around people who are thinkers because people who are reading books are thinkers. But you got so many people who don't read books nowadays. They'd rather stroll on Instagram and look at videos because that's the society we're in. Because we have these smartphones, but these smartphones have dumbed down so many people. So with that being said, just understand that there's so many immature people out here. And if you want to deal with mature people, you need to look for people that are on your level. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting the same results. You can't be mad with people because people are who they are. There's some people in this world who are going to thrive, and there's some people in this world who are just going to survive. You got to figure out what group you want to be with. The ones who are going to thrive or the ones who just want to survive. And the ones who just want to survive, they're content with who they are and where they at. The ones who want to thrive, they looking for more. They want to be better. So got to find those group of people in order to better yourself as well. Because remember, you are accumulation of the 5 people that you hang around with. Even if you don't do any of the things you do, guess what? You're still going to be associated with them. That's why when people get arrested and they always say an accomplice, you could have been riding in a car when a person went and robbed the bank. Even though you didn't know they were going to rob the bank, you're an accomplice, and it's unfortunate because things like that really happens in this world. So all I got to say is it's 2024. You got to want more. It's 2024. You got to want more. So that has been my topic of subject today. I hope I elaborated for those of you who were listening. And I'm going to come back with a summary, close it out. All right, y'all. My summary for today is the 2024 market updates. Hey, y'all, 2024, we're expecting more. Interest rates are going down. People out here buying houses. The number of houses that are sold may be gone down, but the price have gone up. Meaning, if you're ready to buy, don't wait till everything go down and you're competing with 1,000 people, because that's what creates the multiple offer, and that's when you're out there and you can't get nothing you want. The time is now. And then also, I want to thank Zaire Kazito for coming on to share with us the latest mortgage industry updates. And then I ended it with my happiness and immaturity. Happiness starts from within. Never expect happiness from someone else, because truth be told, you're not going to always make yourself happy. So just understand that. And then immaturity. Hey, y'all, we all know somebody who's immature. We went to school with them. We grew up with them. Some of us even work with them. And some people are even in relationships with them. But if you want to change that, hey, you can change it. You just have to make the effort and make a plan, because without no plan, there's no action. And without no actions, there's no results. So I just wanted to say that. And I want to thank you all for always joining me each and every Friday. Please follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, all of them. I appreciate you all. Thank you. I pray that you all are staying warm. If you're somewhere where it's snowing or you're snowed in, and you'll have a great weekend. I should see you all next Friday. Thank you.